I'd like to call the Duval City Council meeting to order on April 16th, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. If you're all please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, clerk, would you please take the roll?
Certainly. Mayor Overlander,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McHenry,
Here.
Mr. Isaacson, Mr. Schaefer, here, Mr. Mercer, Mr. Supple, here, Ms. Kaplan,
Here.
Ms. Kukel.
Yes. Right, we have a quorum. All right, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? City Administrator McNabb.
Yes, we do have a couple. So we need to add, Agenda Bill 2431. I've left copies, where everyone is seated to the agenda. This is for approval of the Economic Development and Tourism Grant.
All right, and under new business?
Yes, please.
If I may also, Agenda Bill 2430, the purchase of a rectangular rapid flashing beacon or beacons for Main Street.
Thank you. And when that comes up, I'll need you to name the agenda bill, please, because I don't have a physical copy of that.
Sure.
Thank you. Huh? Oh, I guess we can. Right? Oh, you do. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, yes, we have an additional agenda correction and modification. Can we please pull number 7 off of the consent agenda, which is update to the 2024 fee schedule, and put that on? We can add it. It's unfinished business, but it would be fine to be in new business.
All right, that will be the last agenda item. All right. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Councilmember Naplan?
Thank you. Could we also pull Agenda Bill 2425, Facility and Field Rental Policy, please?
All right, that will be the last one. And these are both agenda items that council agreed to consent last time, correct? All right, okay, just thank you for that clarification. I guess we'll find out later why they were both on consent, so thank you. All right, moving on. Do we have a motion to approve this evening's council agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And with that, we have 2 proclamations this evening. The first of which is Arbor Day. And I'll go ahead and read that into the record. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was the first observed of the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed in the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Amy Overlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, do hereby proclaim April 20th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Duval, and I urge all residents to celebrate Arbor Day, support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and plant trees that gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. The next proclamation is for Valley Innovation Project Innovation Month. Whereas the Valley Innovation Project inspired fellow students, educators, and the broader community, showcasing the potential of young minds to make a meaningful impact. Therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the undersigned, commend and celebrate the launch of the 2024 Valley Innovation Project which will begin on Friday, April 26th, and conclude on Friday, May 3rd, as part of Empowered Youth Network's Pathways to Employment Success Program, Snow Valley Innovation Center, Riverview School District, Snoqualmie Valley School District, CTE Economic Activity Effort. We applaud Rensselaer Fall's involvement in as this year's featured business for the Valley Innovation Project. We encourage our community and all high school students in the Snoqualmie Valley. Bless my heart, my spot here. To embrace this opportunity and engage wholeheartedly in the VIP to unleash the potential of our future workforce and shape a brighter future for our youth and all of Snoqualmie Valley. I therefore, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, hereby recognize the importance of fostering innovation and entrepreneurship and leadership amongst our youth. We pledge to support this transformative project and proclaim May 2024 as Innovation Month. Is this another?
Mayor, I'm afraid you read the second page first. I'm sorry about
Oh.
that.
There you go. That's what happens when you get too many sheets of paper in front of you. So I'll start with the beginning part then. And then we'll just call it good. Whereas the Empower Youth Network's Pathways to Employment Success Program, in collaboration with the Snow Valley Innovation Center, and partnering with the Riverview School District and the Snoqualmie Valley School District Career Technical Education Departments, has launched the Valley Innovation Project, or VIP, to foster economic development as part of the Snoqualmie Valley Economic Alliance Initiative. And whereas the City of Duval recognizes that the Valley Innovation Project embodies the spirit of innovation, creativity, and collaboration amongst our youth, local professionals, businesses, and the leaders of our community. And whereas this platform aims to equip our high school students in the Snoqualmie Valley with essential entrepreneurial skills and leadership qualities throughout the Valley Innovation Project. Whereas the Valley Innovation Project is designed to cultivate innovation, creativity, and leadership among the youth, fostering a culture of entrepreneurship and problem solving within the community and beyond. And whereas the collaboration between the Empower Youth Network, Snoqualmie Valley Innovation Center, Riverview School District, and Snoqualmie Valley School District exemplifies the dedication and commitment to the holistic development and future success of our community and youth preparing for their post-high school path. And whereas through the VIP, students will have access to mentorship, resources, and practical hands-on experiences that will empower them to explore their passions, develop critical skills, and pursue their entrepreneurial endeavors. I'll just go ahead and read the second page again. Whereas the Valley Innovation Project inspires fellow students, educators, and a broader community, showcasing the potential of young minds to make a meaningful impact. Therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the undersigned, commend and celebrate the launch of the 2024 Valley Innovation Project, which will begin on Friday, April 26th, and conclude on Friday, May 3rd, as part of Empower Youth Network's Pathways to Employment Success Program, Snow Valley Innovation Center, Riverview School District, and Snoqualmie Valley School District CTE Economic Activity Efforts. We applaud Rensselaer Farms' involvement as this year's featured business for the Valley Innovation Project. We encourage our community and all high school students in the Snoqualmie Valley to embrace this opportunity and engage wholeheartedly in the VIP to unleash the potential of our future workforce and shape a brighter future for our youth and all of Snoqualmie Valley. Now, therefore, I, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, hereby recognize the importance of fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership among our youth. And we pledge to support this transformative project and proclaim May 2024 as Innovation Month. What happens when you have a proclamation going on over the meeting. So thank you for that all. And now we'll move on to comments for the audience. It looks like we do have a couple of individuals on. We only can comments from the audience. So we cannot accept public comments from those online, and I'll go ahead and read the rules to make sure that the audience is fully aware. During the designated public commentary period within city council meetings, individuals are allotted a 3-minute speaking duration, while representatives of organizations may address the council for up to 5 minutes. Before presenting, kindly disclose your full name and city of residence. It is strongly advised by the city to submit verbal comments in written form to expedite subsequent correspondence. Written comments must be received by the city clerk's office no later than noon on the meeting day, addressed to PO Box 1300, Duval, Washington 98019, or deposited at the City Hall drop box located at 15535 Main Street Northeast, or sent by email. Please be aware that the City Council, its board, and its commission solely entertain public comments from attendees present at the meeting in person. The council does not accept handouts or printed material during public commentary sessions, and information intended for the mayor or the city council shall be directed to the city clerk, who will disseminate it following the submitter's instructions. Upon receipt, the city clerk will receive written public comments and subsequently furnish them to the city council or the relevant board or commission. It's important to note, however, that written comments will not be orally presented during the council or applicable board or commission meetings. Any written comments received after the noon deadline for written comments will be shared with council at the next council meeting as part of the city clerk's report. And so with that, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment, please go ahead and approach the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Jonathan Lowndes, Bellevue, Washington. I am here representing Master Builders Association, Kings Counties. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself, and as you go through the comprehensive plan update, the housing affordability and attainability is a top concern for the region, and we hope that we can partner with the city of Duval and help address the issue. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And there's no one left in the audience, so we'll go ahead and close public comment. All right, do we have a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda? Motion to approve. Do you have a second? Sure. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this evening's consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Moving on to scheduled items, just a couple of brief items from me this evening. The Association of Washington City Statement of Policy Committee is coming out this week. This Thursday, we have our first meeting as Vice President of the organization. I have the honor of chairing that meeting, and for our newer members that haven't been involved in the Association of Washington City as often, every few years, the Statement of Policy Committee gathers for the Association of Washington Cities and develops overarching policy issues that the organization will address for all 281 cities across the state. So it's a really high level conversation that gets to the main topics that we will be looking to address, and that will help guide the future state legislative and federal legislative agendas for the organization and be a baseline for what the board and the staff do and say at many regional, state, and federal meetings throughout the next 2 years. So very excited about that. Also a quick reminder that the annual conference is fast approaching in June. So hope to see some of you there in Vancouver. It's going to be a fantastic conference. Also wanted to note that the North End Mayor's meeting happened today for Sound Cities. Pretty good attendance. In general, lots of conversation about challenges that each of our jurisdictions are facing. A lot of the good work that we're all doing. It actually is pretty amazing when you start discussing what you're actually doing as a jurisdiction. We're all extraordinarily busy and are doing a lot of good work with the help of our council. So thank you all for your excellent policy work as we continue to move some big items forward. Just an observational note, in my day job, I attended a King County Council meeting today. It's something I've been wanting to bring up, but would put the bug in council here to potentially take a look at our current remote meeting policies. Specifically, it became very glaring today, watching a committee meeting, and many of the public commenters were berating King County council members who were not there in person, and especially those that didn't have their cameras on at home. And this has actually also come up in meetings with other elected officials over the last couple of months. Cities are beginning to update their rules post-COVID to have a little more decisive standard on how participation happens in online meetings to make sure that all of their elected representatives are facing the public. And there's a lot of other small issues that go into that. That would be probably a good conversation for council to have the next time that council chooses to look at those rules. I will say it's also very difficult to manage a meeting when people don't have cameras on. And so, it's very easy in our room to make eye contact, and I have to attend online on a semi-regular basis at times as well. And it's difficult being online to look into the audience. So, especially managing a meeting when you're on the screen and everyone's in person. So this goes for the entire meeting management system. And if council is interested, it'd be great to have a conversation about that, and some of those inputs at a later date. So just wanted to flag that because it did come up today. And with that, my report is done. All right, we'll move on to the city administrator's report.
Great, thank you. Good evening, members of the public, council, mayor, staff. I believe first up this evening, we're gonna switch it. We have Richard Lanchevsky with the Public Works today.
Good evening, everyone. Steve Lanchevsky, Public Works. Slides. All right. So some quick updates. Northeast 150th Street overlay is out to bid. Getting some good traction. 8 registered contractors, and this is from 275th to the entrance to Cameron Park is 280th, 279. It'll include some improvements at 278th and then overlaying whole road section. Bid openings this week on the 18th. We expect to have a meeting the first one of May. And I know it's important. We're meeting with the PSC Up and Go team tomorrow to kind of try to finalize some locations for those PSC related car chargers off of Main on wood existing poles that transition from underground power to above ground power. So work on that. Meg Vanderwald is our new maintenance hire. So the last one to fulfill our hiring plan over the 2-year budget term. Comes to us from Texas. Actually has a master's in Park and Rec. He's working with the maintenance. So currently in Redmond area and very excited to be here. Next slide. First aid training. So Luke Eckert, our emergency management coordinator, is certified to train. So he trained. His max is 12 per class, and I know we had 7 today. So he'll be training the police group and the remaining group, and then anybody else we add to that pool. Want to get everybody who is in the field for any part of their job training. So that he's working on that. He wanted to remind me the comprehensive emergency management plan will be coming to council soon. So it's wrapped up with staff review, legal review, and he's going to the final comments from the state. So pretty exciting. Big Rock Park, that contract is signed and we are underway. We meet every 2 weeks and today is our meeting day. We're not property acquisition currently and trying to determine if there is any advantage on county development standards or city development standards. Technically, that parcel is still in the at some point we'll annex it, whether we do it before development occurs or after, depending on timing of permits and what kind of workload those folks have versus what kind of workload our folks have. So just trying to see if there's any advantage. And we'll be bringing stuff in the near future. They went through the.
Ask a question for them, is that okay?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. What's going on as far as the property acquisition aspect of it? I assume that you're showing those green parcels, those are the ones we're looking at, like.
The contractor or the designer has a team. One of them is a right-of-way specialist, property specialist. So she's working on trying to get information out, whether we're buying parcel in whole or part or easement. So she's looking at all that. And we have
working with the owners of the park.
yeah, absolutely. And this is not a road project. Combination is not possible, nor is it possible for the grant program we have. So obviously, if they don't want to sell it, we're out of luck. They do great. But yeah, we are looking at a couple of those parcels and trying to figure out if anybody's interested and then how we would incorporate them. And again, it's conservation futures money. So development is very limited. Trails, 15% development. We have 1.4-ish million from King County Conservation Futures and pledging our own money. So
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Then next slide leads into the water main. So if anybody's looked at the Tolt water main project between 275th and Big Rock. The first left picture is a 12-inch gate valve being saddled to the existing main line we're tying into. And they tap that and then they kind of drill that out live. That's called a wet tap. So that happened already. So they are tapped into the main and they will be building out from the main into the PSE corridor. The image on the right is a tracked drill rig. So next slide, if you recall, we are drilling under the creek on the far south part of the project. So the Tolt carries the outlet to the water main. We tie into that at two spots. One is up off Big Rock Road by the Big Rock fire station. That's Tolt 1. This is Tolt 2, which is down off of 276 alignment and PSE corridor. We have a few hundred feet, and then from the Tolt, we come and we go underground for a little over 900 feet. So this is the design image. The curve is the proposed and designed drill corridor for the main. They drill a 4-inch pilot hole, and then pull back a 6-inch, and then ream out 12 to 18. And then now they are all set and we're pulling the pipe through. So it's one full pull from start to finish. So they're fusing the pipe on site. It's all fused together. And the next slide shows the actual alignment of the hole. It's an exaggerated scale. The green dots are the surface shots from survey, and then the blue dots are the representative location of the alignment hole on the ground. So they have geolocation devices on their rig that obviously measure 30, 40 feet underground to within, a half a foot. So pretty interesting stuff. We have never drilled anything in town relative to our utilities. So it's pretty cool, a great experience. And they're going to be done pulling the 900 feet probably next week. And then I'll just be laying the rest in trench, like normal, dig a hole, put the pipe in. And there it went. Knock on wood, things are progressing nicely. Next slide, I think that's it. Any other questions?
Councilmember Stoffel.
Yeah, are council members eligible or to take the first aid training or not?
Oh, great question. Hopefully not.
Absolutely.
We can reach out.
I would say a caveat, you have to take some FEMA training.
He's required to anyway. I'm sure Luke will take the opportunity to make sure he signs him up while he's there. But yeah, I can send them that account. It's limited on the number of seats, so I'm sure we'll have spares here and there.
Councilmember Stoffel, I was teasing, as in that most people are not up to date on their FEMA training, and some of it's been long enough for me to do it. Councilmember Napland.
Thank you. I have a question. There was a pretty widespread water pressure situation. What was it? Saturday? Maybe Sunday. I can't remember the day. Seemed like it affected, I don't know, a big portion of the area up by the high school. Was that related to some kind of project or something that may or may not happen again that we should be aware of?
Sure. So yes, Sunday morning, I think the first call was received at 9:04. And I want to make sure people know, like, we do not screen Facebook and look for problems. So the best things to happen are when people call the number, and it works. We had a lot of calls. Yeah, the upper zone is a 615 zone, which is like the high school area down to about just above 278. So that's one pressure zone. We have 5 in town. That pressure zone currently is being fed by the Tolt 1 or the pump station at Big Rock. And what happened the weekend prior, when we had the auto accident where the young lady hit the fire hydrant. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with that accident, but that happened the Saturday prior, 12:30 in the morning. So fire hydrants aren't supposed to break and then spray water like you see on movies, but it did because the girl hit it so hard it ripped it off of the main line itself. When you hit a fire hydrant, it's designed to break and then seal, so don't come out. Hit it again so hard and in such a way that it ripped it out of the ground, and water was coming out of the ground to the tune of it's about 106,000 gallons that came out in the 40-minute period. So yeah, the fire was called, police were called, public works was called. By the time public works got there, after about 40 minutes from call to site arrival, fire had just shut down the valve. They didn't exactly know where it was. I've spoken to them, I had to know where the valve is. Simple trick, a little number on the bottom of the barrel of the hydrant that says 6 or 22 or 14. That's how far the foot valve is to shut the fire hydrant off from the fire. So, I don't have a picture, and I'm not trying to laugh at our friends at fire, but they were very, creative. They pulled the tarp out of their truck. 4 of them, I think, were holding it, and one poor guy was trying to get at the valve, which was right by where all the water was spraying out of the pallet from. They got it off. They were very jolly about it, in good spirits. I did talk to them the day after. So that led to a problem. So that night, whatever happened to the system, it's not electrically connected, but the controls at the toll control box blew the UPS back up and or the fuse. We're not sure which happens first, we can't tell electrically, but then that control mechanism failed, which reduced the pressure. So we fixed all that, went back out, and it was working great all week. And then again, Saturday overnight, the fuse blew again. So Thursday, our electrician and team will be here trying to figure out why. Not making a lot of sense. So I'm not an electrical engineer, but the amperage we've increased with them fusing, and something is going on in the control system. So that's a long-winded answer to the question of currently have some possible electrical issues. Everything is stabilized. We didn't lose, we lost pressure, but we didn't lose flow. There's a difference. But it was widespread in the upper zone. Sean was on call, called me right away, went from the house straight to the thing, and we worked on it the following Sunday morning. So he and I fixed it over the phone in a matter of minutes. Yeah, pretty touchy. The pumps are another issue. The pumps should have worked in the pump house. So they were on, but not in a full volume. So it was another control. But yeah.
Director Lynch, just to add on to the who to call, we've got a new council member, so it's a good opportunity to also remind folks that, again, emergency numbers, first number, if you don't feel comfortable calling the emergency number, and reaching, downline staff, Cynthia and I always have our phones on, and so if you don't feel comfortable calling that number, call us directly. Definitely much better to get a hold of us quickly so that we can make sure the problem is handled. And we do have a PIO, so then the next step would be, it's city business, make sure you refrain from social media. If there's an issue going on, we can contact our PIO and have our PIO make posts to the city official city website with those updates. But once it's been posted online in the discussion boards, it makes it very difficult for the city to have appropriate and effective messaging. So we probably know that Jason's been here for about a year. Probably should schedule some communication training as far as that goes, to do at a workshop here in the next few months, especially as we get closer to summer and fireworks and other issues come up. Being that we do have some new faces around, staff and council, I just wanted to bring that up as well. So.
Yeah, it was, the calls were great, Sean, return calls once we had everything remedied. So the number is on our website, 425-419-3748. Some of them always answer. We rotate every Wednesday, so they switch Wednesday mornings, and someone takes for the week unless they have arrangements otherwise. And that scheduled like the year in advance. So beginning of the year, we set that out. Moving forward, it was funny, some of the comments that our staff member received. Well, I saw it on Facebook, my water seems fine, but I just wanted to, reach out and make sure you guys knew. That's fine too. We don't care who calls us as long as they call. So yeah, it worked out to that way, just fine.
Any more questions for Director Lynch? Great, we'll turn it over to community development.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, audience. Quick update this evening, our comprehensive plan community survey closed yesterday. We had just under 500 responses, and we'll provide a summary at the next city council meeting, so that was pretty good. I was hoping for, 1,000, but we'll take 600, that's a good number. An update on our comprehensive transportation capital facilities. Our last steering committee meeting, we focused on transportation and capital facilities. They even did a bucket test at that meeting, and a summary of that meeting will be in our next packet. We will be having a community open house on May 1st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So of course, council also invited along with the planning commission. You've already seen an invite for that. PTOS update, we provided a summary to the committee from the open house. We also took a preliminary look at what we call the gap and level of service analysis and the map. We also did an overview of park classifications, because these are members from our community where we're like, is it community park, neighborhood park, pocket park, HOA? So we kind of went through all the definitions. It was pretty technically, kind of heavy type meeting. And then we did also an overview of the NRPA standards, because those are standards that we want to meet so that we can be eligible for RCO grants. Next slide. So here's our development dashboard. Again, you can see it, we're definitely continuing to ramp up. We always try to keep about a 6-month flush so that council can see, kind of where we're at. You'll see the low month and the high months. Obviously December is always a high month because your fees increase. And then March was a pretty significant month as well, because we're ramping up into the building season. Thank you. Inspections, you can see our inspections are definitely ramping up, and a lot of these are from projects that were permitted for homes that were permitted about 6 or 8 months ago. So we'll be looking at being into the 300 probably for the next several months. So we'll, Brian and I, our building official, will keep an eye on that, on whether or not we need to bring in some additional support through our consultant to do inspections. Right now, we have about 1.25 FTE inspections on certain days. So we're just trying to balance that a little bit better, try to get the Monday through Monday through Friday balance. Sorry, guys, I've been at this morning coming home for so we'll continue to watch that, but I think it's definitely going to go up at least another 50 per month, and maybe 50 every month after that through the end of the year. Next slide. Management, we issued the Adventure Community Church building permit. That was really exciting. As many of you know, that church burned down a couple of years ago. They had to go through permitting, but most importantly, they had to go through their insurance company. So that took a little bit of time. The farm brewery and the mosque are continuing to move forward. We actually are setting up meetings with them to go over site plan review comments. With the increased single family residential policies changing, which we adopted, the building, we definitely have a lot of permits in the system, so we're getting through those a little bit more slowly than we want to. And then we're doing continued follow-up on code enforcement cases. Spring always tends to bring out more code enforcement, because you'll have people that will, put in a wall or a fence, and you'll get a neighborhood call, or maybe even tree removal. So those things are on the uptick. With the increased permit review, our building timeline review has dropped by about 50%. And then just with the comp plan type work, it's reducing a little bit on our time for code writing capacity, but we're keeping an eye on it. And we're going to stick to our timeline for the comp plan. And so the regulations might be a little bit slower, but there are certain ones that we have to finish by the end of the year.
Thank you. Councilmember Shuffle.
So, with your timelines, with respect to your timelines for permit review, what's the lead time when someone requested, the average lead time when someone requested a permit, and you actually perform the inspection?
Okay, that's a lot of questions in one. I will get there. So when we'll just do an example of a building permit for single family. It comes in, our goal is to review it within 3 weeks and get that back to them. And most of the time it takes 2 reviews to get it to where we issue a permit. then we issue that permit, and usually from permit to occupancy can be 6 to 8 months.
And is that time increasing now?
The permit review is, inspections are not, because when we get called inspections, we schedule them out Monday through Friday. But now we're coming into not just a plan review, kind of kink in the chain, but also inspection. Inspections, we can more easily resolve because we have a consultant that can help us, we can schedule additional.
Any other questions for Director Thomas? Great, well, you can't see this, so I will tell you what it says, it's in small writing. So the first three really are around for recruitment, so we have, 3 positions that we're recruiting for right now. And we're in full swing, so our deputy city clerk position, first round interviews happened last week. Second round interviews will happen next week, and we hope to have that position filled by the end of the month. Our front desk police administrative services specialist, first round interviews are happening next week. And we have really good applicant pool. Overall, we're really excited about the applicant pool that we're getting. We've made a concerted effort when we post positions to do not just the job description, but the niceties that describe Duval, describe the team, welcome applicants, and that really is making a difference in people wanting to apply to the city. So I'm really excited about the reception that our job postings are getting right now. And then for the code enforcement officer position, we will be opening first round interviews for that position at the last week of May, last week of April, first week of May. So getting closer to being fully staffed. The police department is still working on filling their 2 open vacancies, but we have people in background right now. The how-to for how to operate a business is open on the website. So it's pretty simple right now. We don't want to overcomplicate it for those that go to the how do I do business in Duval. We're going to add more content over time, but we're balancing content rich in that it's helpful, but also keeping it really simple, and that we don't, when folks go to that website and the how do I do business in Duval, we're not overemphasizing all the regulatory requirements and creating, again, a welcoming page that makes people want to do business in Duval without also seeing all of the regulatory requirements that's involved in it. So trying to strike that healthy balance. And then lastly, we have an opportunity this summer to partner with an organization called Erupt to do, to bring 2 interns in the summer. We're joining King County, City of Seattle, University of Washington, Seattle Children, and a lot of private companies to get these interns. So excited about the opportunity. They are young adults who need some career assistance in bridging that opportunity divide, so don't necessarily have opportunity to go straight to college due to family resources or other disadvantages. And they are professional young people. They have professional skills but haven't been to college yet. But we will be offering them the opportunity to advance their professional skills through this work mentorship program, and also encourage young folks to come to municipal government for their career. So more to come on this, but we're really excited. They will join us.
I just wanted to note, that's very, very exciting, because we all know the drain on people retiring or people choosing to get involved, in government service. It becomes crisis nationwide. It became exacerbated during COVID. So I'm very excited, for these interns to come and show, for especially our city administrator and team here, to show these individuals how it can be such a positive, supportive work environment, and hopefully they will choose to continue their careers in government.
I received today the interns that will be coming to the city, and one's bilingual, and actually both might be bilingual, and they have a really diverse background. I think they're going to offer a lot to the city. They are both very energetic. They found me on LinkedIn immediately, sent me emails immediately and said, okay, you know, what kind of projects, you know, do you have for us? So I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with, excited young people. Yeah.
I just wanted to be.
They are going to be.
Great. Unpaid internships just need to go away.
Yeah, so the city's budget, and I want to offer my appreciation to both Director Lanchewski and Director Thomas, as well as, Director McMinn. Each department has a budget for, a small budget for a summer intern, and this year we're pooling our resources for these interns to offer this opportunity. And they'll be doing projects, that are kind of for the city as a whole. So policy work, developing our website, you know, young people with camera phones take really good pictures, so those pictures for our special events. Focusing on economic development, driving traffic to the website, building content. So one of the things I'm going to have them do is write your council member pages. And enhance the website that way. Social media policy, things that young professional adults can do to add to their portfolio of skills in writing and learning about municipal government. So pretty excited about the opportunity. An update on our community events and what we're working on in terms of community events. So we finalized the Port of Seattle grant concept. So what we are going to work on this year, so Port of Seattle is kind of an interesting grant. We apply nowish, you know, April, but the money has to be spent in the year you apply. So whatever we come up with will have to be spent in 2024. So what we're going to do is a concept in the depot this winter in December over 2 weekends, kind of Polar Express theme. You know, we have a depot. And so we are going to do a train themed winter event and holiday event in the depot. So over 2 weekends, we're going to invite someone to build, you know, a winter wonderland train. You know, one of those model trains. We're gonna try to get a like ride along train, like to do train rides in the depot park along Main Street. We're looking at doing banners with kind of a Polar Express theme, like winter training. There's also a group that does Lego building, and we're gonna hopefully invite them in to do a hands-on touch and feel thing with kids on building trains out of Legos. You know, maybe a paint and sip concept where we have somebody come in and offer, you know, painting of like a winter train theme. So we haven't developed all the activities yet, but that's our concept for the Port of Seattle. We're pretty excited about it. I think, you know, we'll see how it goes. I think it hopefully will be an exciting event and a family-friendly event that is indoors and also direct people hopefully to the Duval Days event, because we'll be marketing them together as kind of the suite of activities that Duval offers to the community. For May is, Councilmember McHenry.
Oh, just a quick question about the timing. I see it says Winter Family. Were you thinking December? And if so, were you planning to have it add to the Light Up Duval event, or is this just totally separate?
I think they're gonna complement each other, but it's not going to be Light Up Duval. So we're going to have it over 2 weekends, and it'll be the Saturday, Sunday, after Light Up Duval, and then the next weekend. But our thought is we're going to co-market them, but it will be a separate event that we would market outside of Duval for people to come in as well as to Duval residents. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That's exciting.
Yeah, we are trying to bring more vendors into Light Up Duval. The challenge is that at the same time that I think either the chamber or the school district have a craft fair. And so some of the vendors that we would draw for Light Up Duval are already, you know, pre-committed years in advance to doing those winter craft fairs. So we're having a little bit of challenge bringing new vendors into Light Up Duval. We're still going to try to make that event more dynamic and more exciting, but we thought, why not try to bring something else, to Duval this year for the winter holidays. May is National Military, Recognition and Awareness Month, so we are going to do a couple activities on May 21st at that council meeting. So at 5:15, in recognition of Armed Forces Day, the mayor will be hoisting a flag at City Hall at 5:15. We would welcome all council members to join us, which is an armed services, armed forces flag that has the banners for all of the armed forces, and we're going to invite people to that flag lifting. And then at 5:30 at Council of the Whole, we have two activities that are going to happen. The first is a ice cream social, ice cream provided by Species, where we're going to ask veterans and their families to come in to have an ice cream with the city and with council in recognition of their service. And then we're going to have a cake for those who have served in the military. That happens to be that week, Public Works Week. So, as well as Peace Officer Memorial Week. So we're going to have a big sheet cake with lots of emblems on it, so our staff will feel appreciated during time. So that will be at the May 21st council meeting. And then finally, just a reminder, we're going to have a workshop with the Cultural Commission here on May 13th for the community to come and offer some visioning for future artwork in the city, as well as to offer opinions on the Mini Mart mural, as well as the First in Virginia project. We want to ask the community what kinds of things they'd like to see in the city of Duval. So more to come on that workshop. We're going to start doing some marketing of that program. And more stuff here soon. Any questions on these? Okay. We can go back if there are. Next slide. So just want to say we had the first night of our stargazing series, and we had 50 to 60 attendees this weekend out there. The entire parking lot was full. It was a beautiful night for stargazing, and still a little cold. So I imagine and hope that this event draws even more people as we proceed through the summer. So it was very well attended. And then next slide. Just showing you some of our programming that we have coming up. These are the two posters we have for our Earth and Arbor Day and our summer stage. And then what didn't make the slide, I just wanted to let council and the mayor know on Monday I'm going to do the meeting with the Snoqualmie tribe. The monthly meeting that we have between the Snoqualmie tribe and the city of Carnation and the city of Duval. And on July 24th, they're having a youth canoe journey this year. So just designed around the youth in the tribe. And they will be landing in Duval, estimated, but I think fairly firm estimation on July. And then any questions? Councilmember Schaefer.
The July 24th, event for the tribe, and what exactly is that?
So they woke up their canoe recently, I think last week, and so they're doing a canoe journey through Snoqualmie, Fall City. I don't know if it starts in Snoqualmie, so I know it will pass through Fall City. It will pass through Carnation. I believe they're camping in Carnation. It will land in Duval on July 24th, and they will have a luncheon and celebration, and it lands in Duval. And then I think it continues downriver where they will camp. I guess in this case, it would be north of us. So last year, it was a bigger event. They landed in Duval in the summer, and I know our council for them, which they really appreciated. So this year I want to make sure that on July 24th, they want to hear that we have
Right.
some things from the city to help celebrate their thing here too.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, City Administrator McNabb. And so now we'll move on to council reports. So, do any council members have any reports on your activities over the last few weeks you'd like to share with the group? Right, I'm not hearing any dings or, seeing anyone in person that wants to, so we'll go ahead and move on. Council has received written reports on the planning calendar. Normally this is on the committee of the whole agenda, but it's, since we do not have committee of the whole, that's why it's on this agenda. So we'll move on to our one and only presentation tonight on draft light duty and draft remote work policy, led by City Administrator McNabb.
This will be a very short presentation, so, next slide. In your packet, you have two, draft policies. And, so this is just a, continuation of getting some of the task list work, done that I have for 2024. A lot of the, human resources work that is before us this year in the city relates to kind of updating policy. There will be a fair amount of code update because our code on the personnel policies are pretty significantly out of date. I will be bringing, hopefully in 2024, an employee handbook where these policies that are in your packet tonight will be part of an overall employee handbook. Just to make it a little easier, frankly, on our staff to know where to find the things that govern the terms of their employment. So tonight, you have a draft remote work policy and a draft light duty policy. Next slide. So just wanted to talk a little bit about the policy principles of each. So on the light duty policy, we did not really have an updated mechanism for the city to offer injured employees a return to work option while they're either healing or waiting for medical care. And that is if a light duty position or light duty work is available and within the employee's job restriction. So we have had employees who have enough flexibility to return to work following for surgery, but we didn't really have a mechanism or policy to do work through a procedure for how employees can access light duty possibilities. In addition, our supervisors don't really have a roadmap for how to offer light duty. And certainly it's the goal of the city. And I think with all humanity to our employees too, and we want to be able to have employees not go on unpaid leave, and if they can work, that we have work available that we offer them the opportunity to do work. It's a win-win for everyone. So the light duty policy is just a mechanism for making all of that happen. And then the other is a draft remote work policy. Three kind of policy principles with the remote work policy. The first is to create a framework to support post-pandemic remote work options. So it still has a structure for allowing employees and for the city to go to all remote if there's an emergency or some reason to kind of change how we're all doing in-person remote work. So that remains, but it was time for a refresh now that some of those pandemic restrictions have eased. So this offers that framework. Also provides a clear guidance to employees and supervisors on the criteria for when remote work should be approved or denied. And one thing that I was really attuned to in this is, and I think many cities, I looked at quite a few cities, most recent policies, so I only looked at cities who had revised their remote work policy since 2022. You know, we all kind of come out of the pandemic. I wanted to be really attentive to customer service and responsiveness within a remote work policy. Is we need to be attentive to taxpayers when we, as supervisors, managers, decide who can work remotely and where it'd be more appropriate for staff to work on site. So that is what the draft remote work policy does from a policy principle standpoint. So with both of these, take a look. If you have feedback, let me know. And I'm going to just, continue to try to get some of the HR work updated and refreshed throughout the year. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
Not seeing any questions. So we can go ahead and move on to new business agenda bill 24-29, awards of human services grant. And this is for discussion and or decision, led by our Mayor Pro Tem, Amy McHenry, with our council members Mike Supple and Carol Kupel, who have served on this grant committee. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Sorry, I hope my internet connection stays stable. I'm using a hotspot because it's just not great today. So if I drop off, I'll let my colleagues take over. So if you look at the attachment, the agenda bill, thank you to our city administrator for putting that together. The committee, as you can see, the highlighted option.
I want to give credit to the clerk, if it's not me.
Oh, well, thank you to the clerk then. You know, the committee, I think our number one option is asking, similar to what we did last year, we asked for a little bit more to fulfill more of the requests. So asking to allocate an additional $4,000, which I believe matches what we did last year, for a total of $44,000. I think, as you can see, the requests came in significantly higher each year. They do. And I mean, I think that's for a few reasons. One is people are getting used to our grant process and learning what maybe they can use the money for and be successful at the program, but also because the needs for these programs are increasing as well. And so there's just a greater need overall. So the highlighted committee recommendation is option number 1. You can see it gives money to everyone who requested money, prioritizing by our scorecard of who scored the highest. I think food security is always one of the highest scoring needs of this committee, and it has been for years. But of course, we recognize the importance of mental health programs. And so, you know, it's always pretty close, but there's always a few that just float a little higher. And so we were trying to come up with a way to award money based on how they scored, giving a little more to those that scored higher. But we did also want to do similar to what we did last year, which is give the council an option to only spend the currently budgeted $40,000. And we're always mindful we want to give everyone something. However, there is an administrative cost to use this money. So we don't want to give a small amount of money just for the sake of saying we gave money. We want to make sure it can be impactful and be used without costing them more money to administer it. So options 2 and 3 are not the preference of the committee, but we did want to offer those as alternates to help conversation if council did not want to allocate an additional $4,000. So if you look on the agenda bill, you'll see those options. And yeah, I guess I would turn it over to the other 2 council members on the committee if they want to add anything, if I missed anything, and then open it for discussion.
Councilmember Supple.
I'll just say we had one more applicant this year than we did previous year.
Councilmember Kupel, did you want to chime in?
The other reason that Holy Innocents of Snoqualmie Valley have scored so high is because they're primarily based in Duval, and so they see the highest impact of Duval residents.
Great. All right. Is council ready to take action on this evening? And if so, I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
Good.
I move to select option number 1 and to approve agenda bill 2429, awarding the applicants the human services grants, the funds described under that option.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Applin, were you an aye or a nay if you're on mute? I'm gonna want to make sure we get all the ayes first.
I was an I had to open another window to look at what the agenda bill was, and so I was on the other screen. I apologize.
Okay, great. So there, I'll say it for the record, but all those opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to agenda bill 24-31. This is economic development tourism grant. City Administrator Ms. Nana.
Yes, thank you. So, On April 2nd, we had a council discussion on the economic development and tourism grant applications that we had received and had a presentation to city council on what the initial recommendations of the economic development and tourism subcommittee were for awarding the remaining economic development and tourism dollars to those grant applicants. Today, this morning, we had an opportunity to meet again. I had the opportunity to meet again with that subcommittee, and there's been a modification to the proposed awards, and the modification is for the Duval Chamber of Commerce. The initial proposal from the committee was for $2,000 along with fee waivers. After today, there's been a modification with, for $3,000 plus fee waivers. That would include the special event permit fee waiver, as well as if they are interested in using the visitor center for that event, we would waive the rental fee, for that event. And apologies, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Naplin, this was a walk-on, and so, the council members that are here in person have a physical copy, but a electronic copy will be included in an updated packet and on the website. So with that in mind, the committee is asking if council has any further questions on their recommendation, and if council is prepared to award the recipients of these grants as identified in the agenda bill 2430.
Not seeing any questions, so if someone would like to make a motion, that would be fantastic.
I move to approve agenda bill 1431, economic development grants, as stated in the bill.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes unanimously. And with that, we'll move on to agenda bill 24-30. And Director Lanchester, is this yours? Oh,
Yes.
Excellent. Purchase of retainer raft flashing beacons from retail. Oh, that's just-
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and citizens. Steve Laniszewski, Public Works. This was a walk-on after some conversations with our esteemed attorney, who shared his screen up there. In brief, this is part of a December TIB request package we brought forward to council. We were awarded the grant. We opted to solicit a purchase for equipment, so it didn't really look like a public work project, so it's more of a purchase under our purchasing manual. The amount, which is just under 30 grand, does require council approval. So this is simply getting approval that you previously approved for our policy. You get that? So, I'm not trying to confuse anybody. This is a rapid flashing beacon project for Main Street. This is the quote for all the parts. We were gonna install them ourselves. We, under the advisement of talking with TIB and project manager Ressler, came to determine it's probably more efficient to do that under a contract. So we actually tied it to the overlay project for that group of people to install. So it's out for bid right now.
All right, Councilmember Stoffel.
Yeah, I assume you did your due diligence. This is on Main Street here. So did you have to coordinate with was it Washington State Department?
We do have to obtain approval from Washington State Department of Transportation and PSC, because the poles we're gonna use, some of them aren't ours. The light poles are owned by Puget Sound Energy in our community. Some communities own their poles and are serviced by PSC into Light. We choose to have them own them. So whenever someone hits them, we call them, it's their problem.
All right, Councilmember Schaefer.
Yeah, I just want to say how happy I am about this. We've discussed this in council, before and the importance of it. Important certainly as far as safety is concerned, and we've all driven through Main Street, at night in the rain, and visibility is just really bad. It's not a safe place to cross if you're, especially if you're counting on traffic seeing you and stopping. So this is a big deal for safety is concerned. But it's also a big deal as far as economic development is concerned. One of our big pushes with economic development is get people, feet on the street, downtown area. People just walking down, going from shop to shop, seeing what Duval has to offer. The safer people feel here in town, especially people with little kids, as far as going back and forth across Main Street, the more we're gonna get that feet on the street benefit, here in Duval. And in fact, I'm hoping we can actually expand this. I'd love to see a crosswalk down at, Cherry Valley Road, right where it meets the highway, down at the north end of town. I realize that's not part of this, but for future discussion, I think we need one there as well. Anyway, but thanks, Steve, for you and your crew to work on this and get it in front of us tonight.
Any other questions for Director Laniszewski? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Councilmember Fuller.
Okay, I move to approve Agenda Bill 2430, approving the purchase of the Main Street RRSP equipment to Coral Supply Company for $29,703.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Thank you. And for public sake, this has been an ongoing discussion for probably 10 years. So these things, when you're working, the state Department of Transportation can take a long time to get approved and then get through the process. So kudos to Director Laniszewski and his team for continuing to advocate and make sure that this happen in our community. All right, moving on to Agenda Bill 24-28. Update the 2024 fee schedule.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to pull this off of consent agenda. Director Laniszewski is handing out some information that will inform the discussion. So if you recall, the last council meeting, we had a fairly robust conversation about changes to our fee schedule to include whether or not we wanted buskers, changes to special event permit fee, summer camp fee, tournament fee. There was another one. So the agenda bill that we have originally in this packet discusses the changes that we had at the last meeting. Based on information and a conversation that Director Laniszewski had today, we're proposing an additional change to the tournament fee schedule. So you see that on this revised agenda bill, and I'll direct Director Laniszewski, is there anything that you would like to add or explain?
Sure, let me share my screen for those not here. Yeah, a quick phone call earlier today. That was a pretty simple. I know we've talked about it, but it was made pretty simple in the conversation. So just two things to differentiate from your packet. There's now an A and B for your consideration under the Big Rock Ball Field rental. So the difference being, so a new fee for tournaments is $250 for a club. Club organizations hosting a tournament and charging a per team entrance fee. Separate special event application and fee required. That's a little different from your original One would be at 250, and that was fee inclusive, so that's A. And then B would be a different applicant, so new fee for tournaments with an approved special event permit is $50 for nonprofit clubs or organizations hosting a tournament and not charging a per team entrance fee. And that would be inclusive of the special event application. So how it was posed in clarity was, Little League, for example, hosts their own tournament, regardless of being in District 9 or wherever else, they want to host their own. They're a nonprofit, they host their own, they don't double charge their team, so they just put it on for their club. Which is fine, that was good to hear and understand. It would be different of a larger club, I won't name names, where they would charge a $400 per team entrance fee. And then you would garner, those kinds of things. The distinct difference, I think, is pretty simple. I think that just meets the flavor of the conversation we have heard here. So 50 was arbitrary in a sense, like it's something to help us get things booked and do a little paperwork. And then special event permit fee is also included in that for the new option. So that was kind of like a nice quick conversation and understanding the difference in how some clubs operate relative to tournaments. And we have not had a full scale, like regional tournament here, where someone pays 400 per team and all that kind of stuff. But we have had, I believe it's District 9, Little League, which is part of the thing, you see on ESPN eventually when we get to that level, but that was the one tournament we had. That's a clarification. And the other fee you mentioned, Administrator McNabb, was the summer camp vendor fee. We didn't have it before.
Thank you, Director Laniszewski and City Administrator McNabb. This is what I was thinking of in line with the discussion last week. My comments kind of got, there are lots of other discussions that rose above, but this really, I think, addresses the issue of our local true nonprofits versus the large organizations that may be quote unquote under a nonprofit banner, but actually are there specifically to make profits and grab as many team funded as many fields as they can at the expense of our taxpayers, putting the bill for the maintenance and operations of those fields. So I think this is meets that test and appreciate the effort that went into this. And so council, if you'd like to make a motion or have further discussion, this is your call. Councilmember Schaefer.
Yeah, the way this reads right now, I understand the intent as far as, global nonprofits. But the differentiation, I guess, isn't completely clear to me. For instance, if a larger organization is running as a nonprofit, but as you say, it's maybe truly not a nonprofit. Will they still be allowed in for the $50 fee or?
So if they're going to charge an entrance fee, so Rick's team wants to come play in this tournament and it's $400 and you have to bring the $400. No, they're going to be under A.
Under A.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they're a larger group and it's local and they're not charging, then they would qualify under B. But and not charging again, Rick's team and.
Okay. Thank
You.
There's no hand left.
Yes.
Oh, there is, okay. Mayor Pro Tem McHenry, it's the hand is in a weird spot, so it's not over your head is normal. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, I appreciate this change. I think it's worded really well. And I remember, Mayor, you talking about this or bringing this up at the last meeting. And I think this is a great, added detail here. And I think differentiating between people that charge entrance fees and not is a smart way to do it. So I just support it. Thank you.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the agenda bill 2428.
As revised.
As revised, thank you. The 24 fee resolution.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Moving on to our final item of business, Agenda Bill 24-25, facility and field rental policy. City Administrator Now.
So I can begin. So earlier this evening, I sent an email. We did receive additional feedback on the field and facility policy. So in your packet, you had the feedback that we had received from the lacrosse club from several weeks ago. And the comments back and forth between the lacrosse club, myself, and Director Lanchevsky, which informed the red line that you have in the packet for the field and facility policy. So we made a couple of amendments from the last time that policy was at council, both based on council conversation that we had here, but also the feedback that we received from the lacrosse club. So this evening you received an email that had additional feedback from the a representative from Valley Little League. There are a couple points here that would require council approval that I just want to highlight, and then you know, you all can iterate from there. But one is on the lights. Because this is an economic item and council can set the rates for user fees, the under number 5, the Valley Little League is requesting a change to the light fee, which is to have the cost of the light be built into the overall rental cost for all users. And then from there, there's additional conversation about how that would work. So I just wanted to highlight that. Number 6 was the tournament fees, which we were responsive to, but so you see the original email as well as my response, and that's all I have on that.
All right, is council ready to take, make a motion on this agenda bill?
The question is, the items that you mentioned, that may require, consideration by council, does that specifically have to do with the lights, or is it something?
Well, from an operational standpoint, there were a couple comments. So one was around field priority, and the council had a fair amount of conversation around that criteria for field priority. So the first comment from Little League was repeat local block users seem to have some sort of protection year after year. We talked about that concept initially, and you know, ultimately came up with what the policy has right now in terms of prioritization and how we prioritize. And then the next comment was around schedule deadlines. That's kind of an operational issue that the city, you know, the preference from moving the scheduling deadline from the 1st of the month to the 15th, that is, you know, probably not terribly difficult to accommodate that request. There was a request to move the payment deadline to the 15th, as the Valley Little League fees aren't fully collected until March. Again, I can talk to Finance Director McMinn, but I have a hard time believing that that would be a huge operational challenge to move the payment deadline. The next thing though is about the lights. And so we already have a fee for the lights, and embedded in the policy that council has looked at. Little League is now asking for the cost of the lights to be built into the overall cost for all users. And that is a council decision because council sets fees. The next item was on tournament fees, which we just addressed on the new fee schedule. And then the last concern is around time blocks. I will share that both lacrosse and Valley Little League have expressed some concerns about our new approach to time blocks. We are trying with this approach to balance a lot of interests. So the parking lot gets extremely full, and we've had quite a few complaints about the backlog in the parking lot. We've also had a fair amount of, complaints that have warranted, conversation with police because of misuse of handicap stalls when people are really getting loaded into the bigger ball field. So the time block approach was an attempt on the part of the city to balance kind of all of that into the load in the parking lot. And as we discussed last meeting, if it doesn't work, and frankly, if anything in this policy is really not working for the user groups in a meaningful way, we can come back to council to talk about a different approach.
Exactly.
So that's what we received from Valley Little League today.
Okay, good, thank you.
Director Blanchett.
I think the end point there is this can be changed. I'm not saying we just start with whatever we got because it's a good idea, but we have a solid start. Historical use is considered if you read in, the field scheduling prioritization section. You get down to it, it is one of the last items, but to get through some of the other items on what our regular attendees are is not a lot of, iterations down the list to get your previous experience or your previous rent in and to improve. The lights is probably, if we have an interest, is a mathematical experiment. We can bring something back and shoot for fees, like we can change all the time. I think the intent is, the other thought is you just put lights on until 9:30 every day. And whatever it's gonna cost us, you put into your fees mathematically over the year. So that is an exercise that is not all that difficult if we have interest, but that's not our fact. That would be the flavor of that comment.
Councilmember Nathan.
Thank you. Have we ever seen another city do that with the lights? Is that something you've seen, or is our light fee, how does it compare to other cities? I haven't looked recently.
Yeah, the last time I looked, it was a per use. It's difficult on some facilities that have the old sodium halides and aren't LED lit, because those take time to then warm up and cool down, and you can't turn them right back on. So yeah, most parks are fairly dark. I know, and you drive past Perigo, and if there's no practice that night, there's a dim lit level around the walking path, and the field lights are. So I've only seen it on a per. And I'm not arguing for or against, or if it is another way, but yeah, I've only seen it per the rent time. So power is pretty low with LED. That's new too, which may be a reason we haven't seen those types of treatments yet.
City Administrator.
Yeah, I can't share what, other cities around, I mean, I don't have it in an immediate recall, to know what other cities are doing with lights, but I do know from experience having had children that played on select teams that part of the fee structure for some of the parks included the field rental as well as the light. But I don't know, for all the neighboring cities, which does which at an immediate.
Councilmember Shuffle.
What kind of lights do we have? A sodium?
No, ours are LED. Auto on, auto off. We'll expand that when we get into the next phase too.
Councilmember Kupel or Schaefer or Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Kupel.
I have nothing to say with the lights, other than I think if it's not in the we should have one spot. Just, from a wildlife and neighborly perspective.
I do think the Oscar.
Councilmember Schaefer and then Mayor Pro Tem McHenry, if you'd like to comment.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I'm not really ready at this point to make a change to the light fee policy. I think my main concern would be, I don't want to like falsely inflate the fees for everyone, especially if lights aren't being used all the time. So I think for now, I'm good with how it is. If we continue to get feedback from other groups or users, then I think we could, relook at it. But at this point, I'm just not ready to open that back up again.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I would just like to say as well that, the fee structure that we have now that has people paying for the lights was very intentional. And it was very intentional to make sure that we were recouping some of the costs of the field. We all know that we can't even come close with field rental to cover the cost of maintenance, let alone even the staff time necessary to manage the field. It seems very unfair to require a user at 9 o'clock in the morning to be paying for the lights. That portion of the lights for the teams that choose to have practice in the evenings. Whether or not our kids are in school or not, it is a choice to play at Big Rock Fields for all of our leagues, as well as it's a choice for the parents. And I just would often hope that especially our Little League, our Football League and others have massive amounts of money coming in from matching donations from corporate sponsors of all the parents' volunteer time and donations. And that, this should be a common expectation that if you're going to use additional services, that you're paying for those additional services. These are public fields. And we know that many of the users that use our fields do not live in the city of Duval either. So whether they're on a league that's based in the city or not, many of the kids and adults that play on these fields aren't even from the city of Duval. So, which we are happy to let them play, but it doesn't feel like that's a fair change to the fee structure. So I'm glad to hear council overall agrees with that. And we have one last comment from council member.
Yeah, it was just a follow-up. Director Lanichewski, you said something about switching to LEDs and, is there a cost savings? Like, have we ever studied to figure out if $23 an hour is about how much the electricity costs? I'm just curious.
Not recently, and we don't have a comparison for that state as ours have only ever been LED, so. The sodium highlight, because that's an operational management difficulty. Like you can't turn them on and off on a whim, and then have them come back on and all that stuff. But yeah, our LED ones are more efficient, but they still do use energy. Hearing everybody's thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah, I'd never seen this idea before, new to me. Not sure what I think about it, but maybe next year when we do our fee structure for 2025, if we could just do an audit of the lights, because you wouldn't want to put too much of the cost to the people who are willing to play later at night, get expanded hours and so I wouldn't want to, I'd want to make sure it was covering the cost, but not necessarily subsidizing by charging more for the lights. I don't know if I'm making sense, but if we could maybe do some kind of an audit to make sure that we were charging no more than the cost of the lights, if that was possible. But it doesn't really necessarily have to do as much with the facility rental policy. It seems more like a fee schedule thing. So I did have a question about the field priority, but I don't know if someone else wants to go first.
Yeah, so we need to check with our council. Did council have any other questions or comments? And then at that point, you'll have spoken twice, so I will ask council for a motion for that.
So I thought about field priority. It felt like we had it pretty well worked out, but I don't know about necessarily saying, well, if you've always done it, you're going to always get it. But the one thing I think this might be getting to would be, more recreational leagues. So the recreational leagues that are part of our community that have used it year after year, that are providing a service to the youth of our community by providing everyone gets on a team, no cut type of a league. I do see that in other policies where there is a priority for that type of an organization versus there's a lot of select clubs that are nonprofits, but you try out and you might get cut and they're not necessarily as much of a rec league. So I don't know. I don't know if that would address what this person was asking about, but I could see that as a possible modification to give a priority to recreational, no-cut, community-based leagues or clubs. And I don't know if that's something people would consider.
Carolina Shefke.
Yeah, so item 9, page 36 of the action agenda items, the public works department will have the discretion to resolve scheduling conflicts based on equitable use fields, historical use, community interest, which I think, you know, we want to have a policy that is community interest based, no cut, those are one and the same. And then other factors within the discretion of the public works department. Historical field use may be considered as not guaranteed to be used the following year, significantly if demand and demographics change. So there are some tiebreakers in there. You know, when you get down to it, 1 and 2 don't really come into consideration. Field, you know, construction, sure, nothing's gonna happen. City sponsored stuff, okay, a stargazing event when no one's there, is our normal activities. And then youth leagues is number 3, which is essentially number 1 that have more than 40% of the roster comprised. And then number 3 is adult leagues, which we don't have, not that we won't ever, but we're providing that. And then the district is 5. So out of, you know, I'm at number 5 and the youth leagues are still number 1 at number 3. And then you get into 6, 7 and, you know, 8 on tiebreakers for non-residents. It's kind of in there.
I guess if you feel like it's worded in a way that would support,
Can you please,
I-
please pull up and Council Director Honchevsky answered the question. So it is time to now allow the rest of the council an opportunity, and you have spoken twice. So council, does anyone else have any other questions based on that feedback or any comments? Right. Does council want to indulge Councilmember Naplin in asking another question, or would you like to move to the motion?
I'd like to allow Councilmember Naplin to ask her the next question.
All right, please proceed, Councilmember Naplin.
I'm not asking a new question. I asked a question and based on that feedback, I wanted to state my position and how I felt, which included somewhat of a question.
Thank you,
If-
Council. This is the procedure to follow, so please proceed.
I want to make sure if the policy as it is written, if Director Laniszewski feels like it supports that recurring community-based, no-cut recreational leagues can have some level of assurance that when they come back next year, they've spent the whole year planning for the next year, that they're going to have fields available. I think that is what I'm hearing in this concern, is that they build their whole program expecting to have fields available. And if, you know, another group that will come in at the last minute and be set in the priority with them and they'll lose their spot. And anyway, that's all I want to know is if there is a feeling that this concern is addressed, because I think that's the root of the concern.
So not being a lawyer, I think item 9 captures that flavor. I just don't know if we want to move item 9 to not be part of item 9, but just be removed from 1 through 9 and move to the top under the field scheduling prioritization narrative. That leads you into would be new 1 through 8. Kind of looking at. Oscar hasn't seen this as an attorney, but we have another legal advisor de facto. I'm comfortable, again, and this is a policy that can be changed, but I do think if item 9, again, having that discretion to consider historical use moves up into titling instead of prioritization, or moves up in number, I think that solves the problem without any ambiguity. So maybe 9 becomes sub 3. So 3, and we move 9 to like 3I or A or sub 1. And then I think we're covered for sure.
I think that sounds reasonable to be more clear than. Okay.
Pull up and wait to be called on. This is part of the council procedures and rules. Council, if you'd like to respond, please raise your hand and I'll call on you in the order that your hand was raised. Councilmember Schaefer.
Yeah, so Steve, what you originally said, you think it's already covered, as is in item 9, is that correct?
I think the flavor is nice in item 9. I would be, again, legally, somebody's gonna challenge the public works group, put somebody ahead of someone else. Because I had to get to 9, then you can move 9 up under 3, which is the local groups having more than 40% of the kids in in the city, and then that becomes very easy.
City Administrator right now.
I think a call for, if you're thinking about a construction of this section. I think Director Lanchevsky, it took me a moment to think about it, so apologizing for not jumping right in. I think the suggestion to move historical prioritization into the narrative would probably be the best way to do it, because over time and usage, you may have, adult leagues that have, over time become, historically used to using the field, or as you work through that progression. I don't think, based on, the many discussions that we've had at council on the prioritization list, and it's been revised numerous times, that you want to change that language again. I think what you want to do is elevate historic usage as a kind of condition precedent in the narrative, and then go through the way the prioritization currently is written, if you really want to capture that interest.
Councilmember Stoffel?
Yeah, looking at number 9, I would actually take it out and move it up to the first paragraph as not part of the list that you prioritize by, because it's really just a statement that the city has, the Public Works Department has the discretion. I think maybe putting that up front in the first paragraph instead of putting it number 9 on the list would help clarify the situation.
I call on Mayor President McHenry, and then after that comment, I would appreciate a motion so that the agenda bill can formally be amended, if that is council wishes, and we can move forward. Mayor President McHenry?
Yeah, actually, words taken right out of my mouth. I was thinking the same exact thing, that number 9 reads more as something that could be a part of that initial paragraph. It's not actually, it doesn't really read like an actual prioritization criteria to me. So I would be in favor of that amendment if someone wanted to propose it. And other than that, though, I don't want to spend too much time adjusting here and there before we've really had a chance to get this going. I appreciate the intent behind it. I know we want to do the best we can for our community, but I think we need to finish this up, get it going, and then check back in next year and see how it's gone. But I would support that amendment if somebody proposed it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And so with that, would someone like to make a motion? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Okay, I move to approve Agenda Bill 2425 with an additional amendment, and that's in the field scheduling prioritization, and that would move what's currently in item 9 up to the narrative under field scheduling prioritization, but removing it from the number list.
So just clarifying between our city administrator and attorney, that to make sure that Councilmember Schaefer can make the motion and the amendment at the same time? Or do we need to have the motion in a second and then the amendment?
I would say that the best practice would be to vote on the amendment and then vote on the policy as amended.
Okay, perfect. So we do need just the motion and then the second, and then the amendment and the vote on the amendment. So
It should be a motion to amend.
but
That
we
gets-
don't have a motion yet. So
Pardon me?
we don't have a motion yet. So
Right.
Motion. We need a motion to approve the agenda bill, then the motion to, correct? Or are you saying that he can do it, the amendment, at the same time as he's making the original motion?
I think he's proposing, I think the practice would be to vote on an amendment to it and then vote on the amended agenda bill.
That's backwards and I'm used to it. I've never had it proposed that way before, so I wanted to double check. Thank you. So
Let me restate that. I make a movement, I move to amend the facility and field rental policy, as previously stated, but again, I'll restate it under the field prioritization section. Item 9, what's currently item 9, would instead become part of the narrative at the beginning of that section.
great. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on the motion to amend the agenda bill on the floor? Councilmember Naflin, are you speaking to the amendment that's on the floor?
It was left over.
All right, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And actually saves time to the Attorney Ray, so what we now have to take a motion. So we're in process, right?
Could I make a motion for a second amendment, please?
Yes, you may.
I would like to make a motion to also adjust the dates as requested to the 15th for both the scheduled deadline and the payment deadline.
Right. Is there a second from council? Sure. Okay. Any further discussion on this? And just as a note, you're not required to second anything. So if it's something you don't agree with, you're not required to. Councilmember Schaefer.
This was, as requested by Little. Okay, yeah.
Right, anyone else want to speak to that amendment? Councilmember Supple and then Councilmember Naflin. Or I'm sorry, Councilmember McHenry and then.
I'm not clear on what the amendment entails. What's being amended again?
It is changing the dates of which.
Yeah. What are the dates?
So it would be changing the scheduling deadlines from the first of the month to the 15th. And then the payment deadline also from the first of the month to the 15th.
Right, Councilmember, well, actually, you had Councilmember McHenry's hand up first and then Councilmember Kuzal.
Thank you. I hesitate with this one because we've gotten this feedback from one user group. And I don't know that other user groups have commented on that particular item. And also, I believe our city administrator said that operationally you could make an adjustment or help them through that without actually changing it. Was I misremembering what you said on that item, city administrator?
Either way, I mean,
Okay.
I don't think it will impose a significant operational issue from the city. I'll have Director Lenishevsky verify that for me. Because it kind of happened late tonight, so we haven't had a ton of opportunity internally to talk about this, those particular requests. So I could be wrong. And I would say, the city can, of course, always offer flexibility to user groups who need flexibility. But if I can ask for Director Lenishevsky to verify my statement.
Yeah, absolutely. The fees I leave to finance. That doesn't bother us one bit. I think the scheduling, one of the notes I quickly read in the request, I can't disagree with holidays around like the beginning of the year. So, most of the user groups are volunteers. I think a little bit of breathing room after the new year for sure is good because we have small staff too. And if one person's gone and the Department of One managing scheduling, be an issue, so yeah, I don't mind the 15th, but I'll put them on.
Thank you.
Tufeld, and then that's your second time speaking, so we'll make sure everyone else is. Can I just second that? You may, well, actually. Can Councilmember Tufeld rescind her second?
Or too late for discussion.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
But Councilmember Tufeld is asking if she can rescind her second. On the Second Amendment.
I think once the second's been made, it's been made, and I don't think it's possible to rescind a second. I think you just have to move forward from this point.
So with that, we'll take, I believe this may be a split vote, so we'll take a roll call vote on this amendment. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Certainly. Mayor Pro Tem McHenry,
And just for clarification, this is on the amendment on the fee deadline, correct? I'll just say aye. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Schaefer,
Aye.
Mr. Supple, Ms. Naplan,
Aye.
Ms. Coopel.
Aye. All right, thank you. The motion passes. Now, do we have a motion to approve the agenda bill as amended?
I move to approve Agenda Bill 2425, facility and field rental policy as. Second.
Right. We've had plenty of discussions. I'm not gonna ask for more. I'll just say all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And with that, we have no further agenda items this evening. Correct. Unless I missed something on my position list. And we are. I'm sorry. We'll have to do that at the next meeting, right? We can do that at the next meeting. So that concludes our agenda. So unless there are objections, we are adjourned at 8:48 p.m.